Hello, my name is Noriko Kurishita. I'm a teacher, researcher, and also doctoral student at Nagoya University of Foreign Studies in Japan. Today, I'm happy to present the result of the pilot study for the doctoral course on the topic titled Changing Learner Beliefs in Extensive Reading Community. Let's begin. I will follow this outline to present my study from introduction, rationale, method and analysis, and finally conclusion. The quality of reading comprehension L2ER aims at is normal reading. Normal reading is to grasp the main idea of a text integrated with readers' background knowledge and evaluate a text for their preference as we do in our L1 reading. This is where I wanted to navigate my student to. However, it has a problem. First of all, it cannot be measured by traditional reading test. And it involves emic perspective, which is learner's factors, and context. And that's why Day and Bamford claim that it should be something evaluated in a community. The learner belief shift should be observed in relation to learner's strategy use. First of all, normal reading does not occur automatically. It requires skill called rounding. Rounding is to read at a faster reading rate, maintaining a certain level of comprehension. That's why ER researchers recommend us to start with very easy materials. However, as we know, it's not always consistent with actual students' preferences. According to Ellis, learner factors directly influence learner's choice of strategies. Then, it's interesting to know how development of rounding is attributed to learner's choice of strategies. In order to deal with these complexities regarding to normal reading, I adopted legitimate peripheral participation in the sociocultural theory as a theoretical framework. The theory claims that experienced assist scaffold the novice in a community through practice, which is interactional activities to explore specific knowledge needed for individuals. The main claim of the theory is a participation degree is a measurement of learning. In the process where the novice becomes fuller participant from peripheral, the learning is intensified. This is the main point of my study. In order to examine participation degree, I utilize conversation analysis that encapsulate emic perspectives. Let me talk about interaction I implemented as a practice in my study. That is a book talk in which students talk about favorite books using English. In my reading community, individual reader will be a better reader, realizing normal reading through the mediation book talk in their zone of proximal development. In the sociocultural theory, interaction is not a tool where the experience teaches something to the novice, but rather both interlocutors are equally co-participants and co-producers to attain the goal of meaning sharing. Also, negotiation for meaning, which was treated as a linguistic breakdown in the theory of SLA, is now regarded as a sign of language development. In this paradigm, reading comprehension is shaped by mutual scaffolding. For the aim to heuristically exemplify LPP, For normal reading, I have 3 research questions. Number 1. How are learners involved in their interactive practices during the process of learner belief shift through ER? This is based on conversation analysis. This is a qualitative forecast of quantitative data. Second one, what are trajectory of individual learners' development with their value and identification shift towards learner belief shift through ER? This is based on the ethnographic data from group interviews. This is purely qualitative. And the third question, how do learners realize normal reading, balancing comprehension, accuracy, and reading rate during the process of belief shift? This is based on the quantitative data of periodical reading fluency test, measuring speed and accuracy. So altogether, I adapted exploratory design, the mixed method. This study is a case study based on these 4 freshmen who enrolled in ER course in a Japanese university. Their English proficiency level is very low at CFA, ranging from below A1 to A1. However, Satomi is the highest student with the experience of study abroad. She believes that autonomy is very important to learn English. Ken is another leading student. However, unlike Satomi, he is a proponent of grammar translation method because he wants to be knowledgeable in order to be an English teacher at school. Senna is rather in the lower side in terms of proficiency. She reported she disliked her school English with full of boring repetition of pattern practices. And she wished she could more autonomously learn, especially interaction. And Shota is a low proficiency student without much social skill. However, he had a fun time playing games and at his English conversation school his early childhood. Despite these slight differences in background, they are all born in Japan and graduated from local high school. And in terms of L2 comprehension, all they know is through translation. Students practice book talk repeatedly using these provided questions, which are listed on the hands-on activity sheet, altogether with strategic phrases they could use for interaction. We had a 90-minute weekly class lasted for 25 weeks. In there, book talks are done 33 times, and each lesson, the same book talk was repeated with different partners so that they could encounter as many peers as possible. And the literature circles are inserted later in this study in order to have them have a new perspective of reading comprehension. So it was done 5 times with practice of roles. And the data sources are 3 speaking tests, which divide the research span into 3 phases. And also, on the same occasions, we had group interviews and a reading fluency test. And these 2 are compared to the result of pre-study test. In phase 1, the student participated in book talk only peripherally, demonstrating rigid pattern of question, answer protocol without shifting the role of listener and speaker. So it's really far from natural flow of interaction. For example, Ken scaffolded his partner who is struggling with remembering the provided question to ask. He whispered the first part of this question. When the question is completed, he replied with stressed with latching. That means that he was waiting to say the answer, knowing what question to come. So it's not interactional at all. The rigid interaction developed more naturally in phase 2. This is the example of Satomi, who is trying to help her partner S with nice topic management. When S asks, "What do you like?" or "What book did you like?" instead of whispering the right answer, Satomi repeated what it was said. "Do you like?" And without knowing her will, S completed the question with a book. And it turned out to be a different question. "Do you like books?" And Satomi replied with "no," with laughter. And S was puzzled because in class practice, he was expecting a book title here. And nevertheless, Satomi continued with laughter why she doesn't like books. Shota's development was even more interesting because his ER progress was involved, while his partner is trying to summarize the story he was introducing. Shota noticed that he had read the story too, so he jumped in his utterance and holding multi-unit turn to secure his position. And he continued the summary. And in the end, both of them happily thank each other and acknowledge the summary. So they succeeded to construct the summary together. Sena also participated more actively on this stage. However, unlike Shota, her co-construction failed. In reply to the question, "When did the main event happen?" with struggles, she said afternoon, but she wanted to say more, requesting for a word for humans. However, S did not pick it up, and Sena did a second try. But her partner S picked up only clearly articulated word afternoon and moved on to the second question. So she failed in co-construction. Satomi's participation became even more active in phase 3. These blue squared questions are provided one. In between them, she inserted 2 multi-unit turns in order to know the detail of the story. So did Shota. He tried to develop a topic on wedding articulated by his partner Satomi, holding 3 multi-unit turns to know the detail about wedding, whose wedding. The reason why they so vigorously participated in book talks was they wanted to know the opinion gaps that could occur only if both interlocutors know the stories. So Satomi reported, opinion gaps help to prevent misunderstanding of story. The faster reading speed helps to read more without translation. Shota was also excited about opinion gaps, reporting they are fun, and it's thrilling to understand each other. To reply to my request to explain his favorite book, he connected the stories to his real world with excitement. So the quality reading quality definitely changed for Shota, and for Satomi, with recognizing speed increased, her way of reading has changed. And this is how they developed reading skills. Satomi reported, "When I started here, I looked at the word, a verb, and what follows after the verb. Each word came slowly, one by one, but now I can see many words together like in Japanese." Shota also reported a similar thing. "Come to think of it, at the beginning of the year, I might have translated every word into Japanese first, but now I can skim an important point at the first glance of a passage." So they definitely attained normal reading. However, unfortunately, Ken persisted in his original beliefs throughout the study. In phase 1, he reported, "ER and book talks are fun, but are they useful to become a teacher?" So he was skeptical about the methodology by itself, like other students at that time. The second interview, which is a threshold for successful learner belief shift, he still reported, "People thank me after the speaking test to reply to my question, how did you contribute in interaction?" Notice that he did not recognize his contribution for interaction, but the people's attitude to thank for his knowledge to assist them. And still at the final stage, he wanted to translate each word to read. Sena was also less successful student toward normal reading. Her concern was especially on her linguistic development. In phase 1, she complained she cannot make a sentence from words for interaction. And the second phase, as we see, she vigorously participated to co-construct interaction, but most of the time they failed. So that she reported book talk functions only with a higher proficiency students. So she was unfortunate to encounter high proficiency student to provide her scaffolding to the level that satisfied her. The difference between successful and unsuccessful students appear in the number of frequency of turn taking in 3 speaking tests. While Satomi and Shota gradually increased numbers of total turn taking and valid turn taking, those of Ken and Sena's fluctuated, especially Sena's interactional competence is lower than the others. However, if you compare multi-unit turn initiation between Sena and Shota, we can see Sena attempted participate as much as Shota. What is the difference? Difference is on successful rate. While Shota succeeded every co-construction, Sena did it only half throughout the study. This table demonstrates the gain of reading rate and accuracy of each reading test, and also ER development each phrase. According to this, every student seems to have a critical moment when they lose accuracy for the increased reading rate. And after this critical moment, Satomi and Shota, successful students, try to regain accuracy with slowly increasing reading rate. However, Ken and Shota's Ken and Sena's development after the critical moment is not clear if it follows this line. Nevertheless, Ken succeeded to gain more than pre-study test at the final test, and the contrast, Sena lost quite lots of points in both reading rate and the accuracy in the end. The difference between them are on the book selection after critical moment. Ken lowered his book level. In contrast, Sena chose much more difficult book than her level. And looking at the result of her last test, Sena reported, "I failed in the last reading test because of the ER methodology." This is a summary replying to each research question. Number 1, how are learners involved in the interactive practices? They need mutual scaffolding during interaction to notice that the grammatical accuracy is unimportant. Then the opinion gaps during interaction become the strong incentive to motivate students to read more for deep understanding of a story. Number 2, what are trajectories of individual learners' development? They need to recognize reificated artifacts so that they could feel their development. For example, Sena needed her actual language development for self-efficacy, and Ken needed some evidence for his study necessity. Number 3, how do learners realize normal reading balancing, comprehension accuracy, and reading rate? Learners do not need a conscious maneuvering of strategies if they develop interactional competence, because the development of interactional competence allows routing to occur. So, what do we teachers learn from these results? Students need to have interactions with everybody in the classroom community to explore the knowledge they need. Sena was hanging around only with her close friends, so that her interactors are limited. Ken never had a chance to talk to Satomi as a leading student. Thank you very much. That is all. I appreciate your feedback and comment.